John, it's a pleasure to welcome to our trade diversification conversation today, Marco Goco. Now, Marco is a senior executive in Harborfront Financial Management. They're part of a larger group owned out of Boston, but Marco's company has offices across Canada, providing services. I think you mentioned, Marco, 80% of your portfolio are small and medium-sized businesses. The rest are individuals. Now, just for your information, John, when I became ambassador of Canada to the Philippines, Marco's uncle was the Philippine ambassador to Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I got to know that little branch of the Goco family reasonably well. And then when I was traveling, Beverly and I were traveling across Canada to meet with Filipino community leaders, we met Marco's father, Alfredo,
Mm-hmm.
who is a founder of the Philippine Canada Trade Association, a very successful businessman, and whose untimely death we both carry with us, Marco especially.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Marco, it's a pleasure to welcome you to this conversation, and you bring various aspects that we haven't delved into yet. And
Mm-hmm.
when Beverly and I lived in Manila, there were 400,000 Filipinos in Canada. Today,
Mm-hmm.
there are a million.
Mm-hmm.
Our trade with the Philippines, our exports, or at least our imports from the Philippines every year, are a huge multiple of any work that's been done by the Canadian International Development Agency. With your particular focus and the connections, the amazing connections you have in the Philippines, could we start out with some idea from your point of view as to the impact of the current war in Iran on Southeast Asia, the Philippines generally, and what you see going forward? And then we'll turn to trade diversification.
Sure. Sure. So yes, I remember this event. It was a Saturday. There was the Israel and America decided to, start the conflict with Iran. I was trying to have a great weekend, but then I had to cancel all my plans, get into it, call people around the world, and really understand what was happening. So Iran is a very important component of the supply of oil and gas into Asia Pacific. Obviously, the Middle East, the geographically speaking, is very close to Europe and Asia. So it really supplies a significant amount of Asian countries' source of oil and gas. In China specifically, it's about almost 80%, if I'm correct. In the Philippines, our source of LNG and gases is very expensive. They're very deep. So we have to import it at a more favorable cost. So yes, Iran has been a significant impact in the Philippines in regard to the cost of living. And because Filipinos have a very price sensitive market, there's not a lot of room there. It is going through the economy pretty substantially. So our GDP has substantially gone down.
And if I'm not mistaken, there are really hundreds of thousands of Filipinos who work in the Middle East,
Mm-hmm.
overseas workers,
Mm-hmm.
and they must be feeling particularly compromised, and their families in the Philippines.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, so the Philippines went through a significant economic shock in the 70s and 80s, actually because of oil and other geopolitical matters. And our economy couldn't adapt. Actually, one of my uncles, he developed the Overseas Foreign Worker Program that
Really?
allowed Filipinos to travel around the world and generate source. It was supposed to be a temporary economic program that became permanent. So many Filipinos now, because they can't find adequate jobs or work in rural areas of the Philippines and urban areas, there's just not enough jobs. We exported people. So our largest export is actually people, and our industry in the Philippines is really focused on services. Manufacturing got smaller and smaller over time, and our
Mm-hmm.
GDP actually over that period declined by 25%. So you can imagine if the GDP is going down 25%, jobs are limited, and therefore a lot of people started leaving and sourcing. So remittance is what's creating an absorption shocker for us in terms of helping us avoid
Yes.
the shock of the oil, but overall it is impacting many parts. But I also see some opportunities for Canada and the Middle East and the Philippines to really change. So, in my belief, is crisis creates opportunity. It's the first one to adapt and change quickest, fastest, and then the right policies that will be able to be rewarded in the future.
You,
Well,
sorry, John.
mm,
It's fascinating. I'm really um, not startled, but I'm unaware that, in fact, of course, Philippines is a mass exporter of IP and ideas and people, and you manufacture people. You're almost sort of thing. Um, that of course makes sense. I years ago was a stockbroker. They used to call us stockbrokers, financial advisors
Mm.
back in the day with Wood Gundy. And so I get that there are heavy compliance related issues that relate to my question to you. So to the best of your capacity, give us your sense of what's going to happen here in the future. How are things going to unfold that then might um, have folks react a certain way? I mean, with every given day, it appears Europe and Canada and the Commonwealth in general are withdrawing from the U.S. sphere of influence, um, creating new partnerships together. uh, I have concerns about prices of oil, prices of everything because of the conflict in the US. So there's inflationary pressures. What are you folks generally saying about the next 6 to 9 months in terms of economic scenarios for the world? That's
Mhm.
just to explain the meaning of life, Marco. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah. So we do study this very closely, and it's I love this kind of stuff. I'm a bit of a nerd on it. I'm a
Oh,
nerd of
fabulous.
economics.
Okay.
I'm a nerd of international business, and I find all of this fascinating. So, in light of all the headlines that's happening in the world, I think in opportunities like this, there's going to be great. In crisis like this, there's going to be great opportunities. And
Mm.
the Americans built the multi-framework after World War II, right?
yeah.
It's been around since 70, 80 years. They're the only ones who can really break it because they created it, right? And I
That's a
think,
very good point, actually.
Yes,
right?
isn't
That is a
So,
very good point.
so they've come to the conclusion that the framework that they built is no longer to their advantage, and therefore they're creating a new dynamics in the world. And I think so. What's happening really right now from economics and finance schools? What we learned from the textbooks is that if there's tariffs, it's going to create a recession and a depression, and trade volumes will go down. What we're seeing though is that the trade volumes did go down, but it was shallow and quickly recovered.
Mm.
And it was, I have charts to show you. Maybe next time I can provide it if you'd like. But essentially, the trade volume started rebounding significantly. And we noticed that rebounding was really around the United States. So it's called like a donut. So the world is going to be trading around America,
Mm.
and you're going to see, therefore, a significant increase in the economic activity in a lot of emerging markets and outside of North America. So, in the context of emerging markets, the first thing you'll notice when you enter an emerging market, there are significant conglomerates there, large players. So, if you are somebody who wants to go into a new market, you're looking for a partner. The larger firms will probably partner up with a conglomerate who has scale. Okay.
Mm.
So we are seeing that activity improve significantly on terms of the conglomerates in the different countries. And we will be seeing their revenues and their profitability are significantly enhanced. So their future of these conglomerates and many of these emerging markets are very promising because the pipeline of deals they're receiving is significant, right? So
Yes.
those are some of the volumes. I had my chart ready for you, but it's a fascinating chart that we're watching that the trade volumes are actually increasing and it's spreading around the world.
Well,
And I think that Canada, in the context of Canada, will really align in values and trade with the Europe. I think Carney has a deep relationships, understands a lot of the financial frameworks there and trade relationships. So you'll see that develop. And then a lot of our medium-sized companies need to develop skills and resources to be able to match with the right partners in other parts of the world, like Latin America and in Asia Pacific. So,
Marco, let's look at Canada and the Philippines for a moment
mhm.
in this new context, right?
The
I mean, is
donut
it,
context. I'm
yeah.
getting hungry. I'm getting
I
hungry.
do
Well,
like
and
donuts. Yeah.
actually, that donut shape was predicted quite a long time ago by a fellow by the name of Andrei Selzenko, who wrote in the Globe and Mail, and he was
Okay.
one of Canada's top trade negotiators during FTA, NAFTA, and whatnot. He
Mhm.
predicted this. And what you're telling me is your statistics are demonstrating that it's happening. Well, that is
Absolutely.
actually fantastic.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the essence of trade diversification. But
Hmm.
let's just look at the Philippines for a second. We have huge, our two countries have huge advantages,
Hmm.
including people connections, business connections. Manulife and Sun Life are the two largest insurance companies since 1896, John, to be true. And Bank
I
of
was
Nova
8.
Scotia owned Solid Bank with 122 branches for many years.
Hmm.
I'm just curious as to now that there are with a million Filipinos in Canada, there are Filipinos everywhere, very entrepreneurial. They're in business, they're doing stuff. And what kind of leverage you think that provides? Because every one of them, like yourself, are connected to huge networks
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
country of 130 million people.
yeah, absolutely. Canada was very fortunate. They had a great when I moved to when my family moved from Asia to Canada, we followed the immigration policy. It was just, we have to get points, you get higher points if you have a degree, etc. And if you're an investment visa. So a lot of Filipinos, a lot of people in Asia moved into Canada and they had great relationships, but really they had a strong understanding of the cultural nuances of doing business in Asia and in South Asia. They've done business with Korea, Japan, Vietnam. Unfortunately, a lot of those people had a hard time integrating within the Canadian rigid system. So some of them went back. But the good news, they're Canadian, right? They're Canadian citizen and their worlds are in between. So I think if utilizing some of those individuals, some of the skill sets, a lot of Filipinos and other cultures, they have leadership positions in some of the largest institutions in those countries. So there is a bridge there. The question is, how does Canada build a system that will be able to access that, right? And I believe there's lots of opportunities. In the context of the Philippines and Canada, you know, the Philippines is really a consumption-driven economy. And therefore, the services, we export people, we export services, and then the remittance comes in and we purchase and we love Canadian products. We love foreign products. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities there. Manulife, as you mentioned, and Sun Life is a significant player in the Philippines financial and insurance market. Philippines love insurance products. But what Manulife and Sun Life did when they came into Asia, in the Philippines, I mean, is they brought a lot of know-how. So once they started building the local offices, a lot of the people got trained in Manulife and then branched off to new companies, and the capacity of our people in the finance field really, really improved. So those are some of the trade diversification, talent transfers that are happening
Absolutely.
that you can't measure, but Manulife and Sun Life have a strong technical skills. So that is a gift to the world. And I think services is a big component that's not being discussed right now on trade diversification.
Marco,
In
Yeah.
that's an important message.
Yes.
That's very important.
Yeah, especially on our mid and then our small companies. there's a lot of technical layers there that is missing in many emerging market countries, right?
So Marco, how is AI
Hmm.
implementation impacting a service-based economy like the Philippines?
Yes.
You must
So
have done
AI
some
is
analysis on that.
yeah, so AI absolutely is having some structural adjustments within the industry, but a big part of our skill set is hospitality, and hospitality is not really that affected by AI
No, it
because
is not.
there's Filipino smile. It's
Yeah,
hard. It's hard to replicate,
absolutely.
okay?
Well, I see a lot of it in the hospitality of our local food businesses here
Mhm.
in Victoria. So let's
Uh-huh.
have a little fun for a moment here, Marco.
Uh-huh.
So I'm looking at a donut now,
Uh-huh.
our analogy, and some parts of that donut look a little better than the other parts. Okay,
Yes.
and I'm going to eat that part. So
Okay.
let's take that now, and the question to you is, I know a default answer will be the Philippines, and I completely see why. But
Mhm.
I used to say on this, I would often say that our trade was up and down. I do this kind of physical analogy, and now we're this way. We're looking left and right. It's more
Yeah.
horizontal. So, what would be some leaders in this now new economy that is donuts analogy?
Hmm.
Aside from the Philippines, which we're going to assume now is number one leader,
Hmm.
but what are some others that you could reference for us? Countries
Like
that
other countries?
Other countries that Canadians might go, well, that's somewhere maybe we should look towards going as opposed to over here, that sort of thing.
Yes,
Or
yes.
not going, but trading with or building these relationships.
Yes, I think Canada is in a fantastic position. I wish we had more infrastructure to be able to export. That's really where our barrier is.
Mhm.
But in Europe, a lot of the Sweden, Norway is going to be significant partners of ours, right? That
Mhm.
is not a no question there that they're going to be significant partners. In South Asia, I think there's going to be another significant partner if we can build our capacity in trading relationship with South Asia, specifically India. That will be great. In South East Asia or Asia Pacific, I think Korea, Japan, Philippines, probably Vietnam as well, and then Singapore maybe. So those are some countries that I think would have significant opportunities to do trade. Philippines is going to be there's a lot of resources, but we don't have the technology to be able to extract them. So
Uh-huh.
we can partner up with a lot of mining companies in that area, has
Mhm.
specialties that can ensure that the mining and environmental requirements are done properly. I think on the Asia Pacific side, there's a lot of opportunity on the for them not wanting to go just to the American markets to buy stocks and bonds. A lot of companies I'm speaking to around the world are looking to diversify not just their trade, but their stock portfolio out
Right.
of America. And
Well, that
Canada is a very, very attractive place, but our regulatory framework and our companies in the mid-size, we're not talking about Manulife or Sun Life, or those bigger players they're fine, but the middle ones are where the opportunity really lays.
John,
For
one more follow-up, and then I'll let, and then
Sure.
please ask some questions. Interestingly enough, from a Canadian perspective and a historical one, is that we generally have done a bunch of trade with Commonwealth countries. There's sort of a lot of common laws and regulations and attitudes, etc. And I didn't notice in your list the United Kingdom, and they're really taking it. Trump's really kicking them in the butt these days, and I'm just curious how that economy is adjusting in this new world.
the UK economy.
Yes,
Yeah, I think they've had a lot of problems first. They were supposed to join the European Union and they left. So that created shocks. And then
yes,
now this COVID hit, and then now this trade embargo. So
yes.
the strength of the United Kingdom is not what it used to be, right? and their main issue is really their cost of energy. The cost of energy in the UK is very, very high, right?
Wow. Okay.
And it's in fact, like if you go around there, there's no hot yoga anywhere because it's just too expensive.
Wow. So nowhere to ease the
Yeah.
anxiety.
There's no yeah. So UK and Canada are traditional trade partners. I think it's gonna get stronger. But I think the opportunity really is going to be the other countries like the Swedens, the Norway, Scandinavian countries are going to be a significant partner of Canada, and
Yeah.
then Southeast Asia are desperate. So you're going to see a revisiting of supply chains. You're going to see Canada for the first time, Koreans and Japanese and other firms were looking in Canada, but about sourcing certain LNG and minerals and other resources, they're now speeding that process up, and I think that's going to
We're
be.
welcoming the world. Come and join us.
And I think
We love you
Canadian
all.
brand. Yeah, I think the Canadian brand. So if you go to the Asia Pacific market, Australia has done a fantastic job of being able to penetrate the market. Sweden actually has done a fantastic job in Norway. Canada is lagging a little bit, and I think we have the right people. We just have to have those bridges, and a lot of those executives are retiring. You should be
We
able.
got lazy, Marco. We got our
Yes,
butt kicked and now we're waking up.
yes, yes,
I would agree, Marco, that we have the bridges. What your message is, we got to walk across those bridges. We got to
yes, yes.
populate those bridges with competitive businesses seeking customers.
Hmm.
It's customers that will drive our diversification, but the strengths that we have, and you've outlined several of them, are very considerable.
Yes, yes. And if you notice, I haven't really mentioned China because the Chinese market is very different. You need to be large and you need to have volume there. And
Yeah,
many Canadian companies are smaller and they're more competitive in Southeast Asia and smaller
absolutely.
countries. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we study this in our contacts. As I said, I'm a nerd. I can go on and on about this stuff. But yeah, it's for me. I know there's a lot of pain going on, but I think it's a great opportunity. There's been a lot of inter-provincial trade barriers. They're starting to go down, right?
You're
Uh,
singing my tune. Yes,
yeah, that should have. I think they were discussing that during my uncle's time because I used to drive him to all the events as ambassador, and
yes,
we would talk about that. We would have dinners with different people. He always invited me, and finally, after
yes,
many years,
Finally, logic
yeah,
prevails.
yeah. So I think
absolutely.
that's when the crisis creates the opportunity, and I think that would just that alone it should increase Canada's GDP, but it won't be enough. We need to start welcome. We need to really the Canadian brand around the world is fantastic, and I think we can do better than Australia. And Australia has done a fantastic job in the Asia Pacific market and other markets, and I think Canada can do a great job as well. It just needs some strategic, a different lens on entering these different markets.
Well, we
Marco, my good friend John is very careful with these interviews, and of course they go on YouTube, but he
Hmm.
then goes through the interviews and takes out sound bites and puts them on all the other useful channels. I
Sure.
think you've given us about four really good sound bites so far, particularly that
Fantastic.
last one,
Uh-huh.
which is why we're going to want you back, and you
Absolutely.
let us know when you've got the charts ready to go, because
Uh-huh.
it's your numbers are very significant in terms
Mhm.
of the future of this country in this difficult time. And
Absolutely.
to be able to be able to demonstrate to the public and to businesses that it's actually happening.
Hmm.
It isn't just an article in the Globe and Mail.
No, no, no.
Is hugely significant.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got your client base of hundreds of small and medium sized businesses across the country.
Hmm.
Uh, how are they adjusting to all this on balance?
Well, first it was shock, really, to be honest with you, right? It was a lot of shock. they are feeling the cost of doing business has really gone up for them. And that is something that we work very closely with them. So we have a specialized practice. We're more like a multifamily office. So we help not just investment, but a lot of other things on taxes and structuring corporations and et cetera like that. So they are really trying to find ways to expand. And if you do expand, you need to create a separate division called your international corporate division that can take all that risk, right? So you
Yeah,
move some of your money in there if you're planning to expand, and then you need to isolate some of your other assets. So you need to do some restructuring inside your
yeah.
corporation. In terms of the greatest thing that I've kind of talked to a lot of them is said, hey, what is your value proposition that you're offering? How is your supply cost increasing? And where is the growth going to come from, right? And so, depending on the industry, a lot of the flavors that we get from different business owners from BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and across to Ontario, their psyche is very, very different, right? Alberta, there's a lot of excitement actually. There's a lot more excitement than I thought. They are excited about data centers, they're excited about these, but they're just frustrated with British Columbia to
Yes,
try to get access to
as
it,
are
right?
British Columbians.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can assure
yeah.
you.
Yeah, they're struggling with that one. So, but I think the GDP in Saskatchewan and Alberta will continue. I don't travel often to the Maritimes, but I heard Newfoundland is there's going to be a lot of more activity there.
Mhm.
Newfoundland, New Brunswick, they're going to be building out all kinds of satellite stations there and to get ready to, and also ports and things that will be exporting
Yeah,
to Europe. So that's going to be very fruitful for them. But business owners are worried. But then now I get them to come in with our accountants, with a council, and we build what like an advisory group, and we counsel them through it.
Yeah.
good.
So
One
you
one
go pros and cons, and you work it through. But a lot of these families are passing down their to the next generation. So that next generation really needs a lot of guidance.
can benefit. One thing
Mm.
we do know, Marco, for certain, is that the internet audience attention span is not very big. And
Okay.
so we are likely at the end of that
Mm.
attention span.
Sure.
But boy, oh boy, would I love to hear from you again, eh, John?
No
Because
question about it.
you know, I likely by the time we started to the end of this interview, something quite significant has happened in the U.S. or somewhere in the world that will have impacted this discussion. So,
Mhm.
if you're game, this has been fascinating, Marco. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll visit you in Victoria, or we can do this online. But I'd love to share more and learn about what's going on with business owners as well in your area. So
Okay, right on.
Terrific.
every
You're
You'll
problem
welcome
has a
expect.
anytime.
solution, right? So,
Excellent.
all
Till
right.
Marco,
next
thank
time.
you. Thank you
Take
so
care.
very much. And
Absolutely.
we will come back to you for sure. So you let us know when those charts are ready for display. We'll have a whole conversation about.
The charts are
Uh,
ready. I've been,
okay, well,
yeah. Whenever you let me know, the charts are ready.
Okay,
okay.
terrific. Talk to you
And
soon, my friend.
we'll bring in a supply of Tim Horton donuts for the discussion.
That's right. And
Take care,
Okay.
my good friend.
yes.
Take care. Bye
Thank you.
bye.